Oh boy, it was a special moment for me too, Karen, let me tell you. So just mentioned Valentine's Day to those who are single, and many will cringe, but Suzanne Heinz decided to turn her single status into an art form she could celebrate.
There must be something wrong with me because I'm single.
Suzanne Heinz is known as the Joan of Arc of single women, but it's the way she chose to deal with being single that's so unusual.
I just kind of snapped under pressure.
But it was that pressure that helped Suzanne come up with a plan for a man, a mannequin man, that is.
It all came to a head one day when I was at my mom's house for the holidays, and she just kind of put it to me point blank. Susie, there's nobody perfect out there. When are you just going to pick somebody and get married? And I snapped back, well, Mom, it's not like I can just go out and buy a family.
And lo and behold, birth of an idea.
I saw an entire family of mannequins in the window, and I just kind of had a eureka moment. I can buy a family, and I'm just going to take pictures and send them to my mom. But it turned into a bigger project than that.
That project has Suzanne taking the man of the mannequin family out on dates, including ballroom dancing for Valentine's Day weekend.
Just because you turn 30 years old, it doesn't mean it's time for you to get married and have children. There's so much expectation, even for people in couples, around this holiday. So I thought it was a great time to take a light-hearted, satirical look at this holiday and go out with my artificial husband.
Oh boy, Susan says she believes what she's doing is a form of art, but instead of it hanging in a gallery, her art is photographing and performing with her mannequin man. One woman's mannequin, well, honey, it is another woman's man. Karen, I tell you, it's like she probably won't ever cheat on Chauncey, because that's his name, Chauncey.
Good name, Elise.
Good name.
So many things I could say with this. I just don't know where to go, Gloria.
Just
so
let
best
it go.
not to
That's
go.
right. That's right. Let it go.
Thanks, Gloria. CBS 4's Gloria Neal sat down with the actor before the luncheon to learn more about how Gina is using her celebrity to help improve the lives of women right here in Colorado, and she is just fascinating.
She is very fascinating, and she was a tremendous amount of fun. I mean, Gina has a passion for making sure that girls and women are portrayed in strong, effective roles, and she says the message of how women are portrayed in the media is received by girls at a very early age.
Girls as young as 6 years old now are self-sexualizing. They're looking at themselves through the male gaze and deciding that they need to be sexy and thin and pretty and everything. It's horrifying.
So tell me about C. Jane and where the name of that organization came from.
When my daughter was 2, she's 10 now, I started watching, G-rated videos and things with her. And I was shocked to see how few female characters there were.
Gina says now her kids get it.
Talking about it with them while they're watching actually is a really effective tool because there's nothing to tell them this isn't actually accurate. Women can't be that skinny in real life.
Louise Atkinson is the CEO and president of the Women's Foundation. She says that's exactly why Gina was chosen as the keynote for their 25th anniversary luncheon.
Her voice advances the cause of the Women's Foundation of Colorado, clearly. Her influence for women and girls crosses all types of boundaries.
6,000 girls don't graduate from school in Colorado every year, which is why Gina's voice is so important.
What Gina's trying to do, which totally aligns with what we're trying to do, is to make sure that girls have a very positive self-image, confidence, good mentoring, let them reach their full potential.
And even though Gina won her Oscar for a performance in The Accidental Tourist, it was Thelma and Louise that changed Gina's life and ignited her passion.
I'm always, amazed that we made a film that really inspires women and they feel jazzed and energized, and we kill ourselves. It's like, what if we didn't even kill ourselves? It just shows how few opportunities we give women to feel really invested in the female character.
Going out on your own terms, Gina plans to continue working with her organization, C. Jane, and improving gender portrayals in children's media. As for the Women's Foundation, they have made some huge progress with getting Senate Bill 22 passed, which allows women to receive raises at work without having that raise decrease their child care assistance. So a lot of good stuff going on, and she was wonderful. Gina was very real, as we say.
Yeah, she gets her point across. She's very strong with her point. With humor. She's so funny.
She was very funny with humor. And she even talked about women in politics and how that portrayal. And so she's not just stopping with little girls, she's going all the way.
Right.
Shannon was in Denver as the guest of honor for the Warren Village All-Star Breakfast. He says, although there wasn't a Warren Village when he was growing up, he understands what it means to come from nothing and become something.
For 66 years, my grandmother went to bed and have it rain and would always get wet. I remember as a young boy growing up and the rain, I remember my grandmother saying, well, is it the phone? Is it the lights? Which is it gonna be?
Broncos Hall of Famer and NFL Today sports commentator Shannon Sharpe felt the love this morning at the Warren Village All-Star Breakfast. But last night, he sat down with me to talk about why Warren Village has such a special place in his heart.
Sometime in life, you need a hand. Because a hand, and not a handout, I say because a hand helps you to become sufficient so you can do for yourself. A handout makes you lazy, makes you dependent upon others.
Shannon, of course, has that reputation for being a loudmouth, a never-ending soundbite machine. But the 7-time Pro Bowler says for him, it's always been about his grandmama.
They thought I was talking to garner attention, but I was talking to keep from hearing my grandmother's pain.
And it's because of her that he holds a very special place in his heart for women.
You can tell a lot about a man by how he treats the women in his family. I've never been married. I can be married for moving forward for 50 years. I don't know if I love anybody more than I love my grandmother.
As for ever living in Denver over Atlanta, Shannon says not.
I kind of like to be able to go to the movie occasionally and not have to talk football. I kind of like going out to eat occasionally and not have to talk football. So that's one of the main reasons I don't live in Colorado.
He was something else. He even said he kind of likes picking his apples at Walmart and not having to talk football. Shannon says he loves Broncos fans and he appreciates all the appreciation, but he says no one understands better than him what it means to be a victim of his success. He was so gracious with his time. I mean, we were supposed to talk for 10 minutes. I looked at him and I'm like, we almost out of tape. You know, it was like an hour. It was great. It was
Nice
wonderful.
to see another side to him.
Absolutely.
Talk about something more than football.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, Chloe.
Thanks, Chloe.
Can't wait to hear this, Gloria.
Oh, it is so interesting. I had a blast with her. As the Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright carried the full force and might of the United States as she negotiated with other world leaders. And it is because of those world leaders, some good and, well, you know, some not so good, that her book, Read My Pens, was born.
None of this would have happened if it hadn't been for Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein, the now dead Iraqi dictator, was no fan of the former Secretary of State who didn't bite her tongue when it came to putting dictators on notice. So she began wearing a snake.
One of your colleagues zeroed in on it and said, why are you wearing that snake pin? And I said, because Saddam Hussein called me an unparalleled serpent, and that's how it all began.
She says she happened to have the snake pin, and since she was the only woman on the UN Security Council, she started wearing that snake pin whenever she began talking about Saddam.
My instructions were to say perfectly terrible things about Saddam Hussein constantly. He deserved it. He'd invaded Kuwait.
World leaders began to read her pins to know what kind of reception to expect. She wore flowers and bird pins if it was a good day. She wore spiders and snake pins if she anticipated a bad day. And she wore crab pins when she said she was dealing with crabby old men.
I thought that was fun, and I went out and decided that I'd buy a lot of costume jewelry to reflect what I thought was going to happen on any given day.
Any given day, indeed. Now, the pins were born because of Saddam, but the title of the book was born because of the first President Bush. After he said, remember this, read my lips, no new taxes. Well, Secretary Albright said she began to tell world leaders to read my pens. And the former Secretary of State told me a very funny story about former Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. She said he loved giving her hugs because he said she had firm breasts. She replied, of course they are. That's how I hold up all these pens. Karen and Jim.
What a treat. What a neat lady.
She
What
was
surprised
awesome.
you the most by her, Gloria?
You know what? I knew that she was going to be candid, but I had no idea that she was going to completely come out of her bag and tell it like it is. She says the best part of being Secretary of State is being the former Secretary of State. She was awesome.
It is a bit of a homecoming for her at the museum because I know she spent her teen years right here in Denver.
That's right. Her father taught at DU. The Corbell School there is
right.
named after him. So, yeah, lots of history here, and she considers Denver home.
Fantastic.
Great stuff. Thanks, Gloria.
So there you have it. Check it out. Read my pins. The Madeleine Albright collection will be on display at the Denver Art Museum all the way through June 17. The exhibit is included with your general museum admission.
He and his wife sat down with CBS 4's Gloria Neal in an interview you will see only on CBS 4. And Gloria, this is not an easy thing for any couple to do, let alone do it in front of a camera.
You're right. It was something else. As a matter of fact, the story really has less to do with the sultry details of having an affair and more to do with the couple sharing the betrayal, strength, and love of a marriage rocked by scandal. Jeff and Vicky Campos shared this part of their story, the part that wasn't in the headlines, in hopes of inspiring and sparing others a whole lot of pain.
Is my marriage worth saving? Do I want to fight for the 26 years we've had together and the life that we have built together?
It's a question many women ask, but most women don't have their private lives splattered all across the headlines.
These facts should have been private between Jeff and I and our God. And unfortunately, it got splashed through the entire media. And that was tough.
What made it even tougher was her husband, Jeff Campos, was a prominent member of the business community, the CEO of the Hispanic Chamber. He was arrested for assault and kidnapping stemming from an extramarital affair, which has since ended.
I stand up to the infidelity that I had, and yet I'm very proud of how I'm going to move forward.
When did you know, Vicky, something was wrong?
On the 4th of July, it was during that weekend over the 4th of July, his demeanor really changed dramatically, and I thought he was going to have a nervous breakdown. I was getting all these calls from a blocked number, and I would answer and they would just hang up. And then sometime in the afternoon on the 4th of July, I actually got the call from the other woman proceeding to tell me how I was ruining everything for her and that I needed to back off and leave Jeff alone. And then she told me, Vicky, you should be ashamed of yourself that you don't know about me.
Vicky says she was stunned. She didn't even know there was another woman.
I really was absolutely 100% blindsided.
Jeff says the affair is no one's fault but his own.
I couldn't blame Vicky. I couldn't blame, my job, or I couldn't do it. I had to be accountable for what my actions were.
But now, through counseling and spiritual advisors, they are both rebuilding their 26-year marriage.